right, away from security matters, let's deal with another issue now in Nigeria, which unfortunately, as I always say, at a point you get tired of saying the same thing over and over again. We've been hearing about Abacha loot since how many years ago? The money, as we say, we've not seen it. We only hear of the money in words, in counting, in statements, in courts. Statements, but yet a lot of Nigerians are saying that there is no transparency in the details of the amount that has been recovered from the Abacha loot, or even, apart from even the transparency, to even see the details, we've not even seen the impact in Nigeria, and that has caused a lot of controversy in the country. Let's take a look at that report, and we'll be right back.
Since his death in 1998 till date, late General Sani Abacha has been in the news over attempt to repatriate monies he stole while in power. Though a total figure has not been confirmed by any administration, announcements are made when a recovery is done.
Government holds power on behalf of the people, so the people deserve the right to know what government is doing with the funds of the people, the commonwealth of the people, and we all agree that these looted funds belong to the people of Nigeria. So it's only natural that SERAP, as part of our own work in transparency and accountability, would ask the government to account for these funds. Now you must understand there is a bit of back and forth information about whether the funds have been used judiciously or not, but without clear-cut figures and the details of the spending, and that is where we've done that. It is basically about accountability and transparency.
In 2007, then Minister of State for Finance, Nenadi Osman, said about $2.5 billion recovered Abacha loot was disbursed to the Ministry of Power, Works, Health, Education and Water Resources for project. In 2014, Okonjo Iweala said during her time as Finance Minister under the Obasanjo administration, only $500 million was recovered and used for community projects. In June 2014, Liechtenstein returned $227 million to the Nigerian government. The United States Department of Justice in August 7, 2014, announced that a sum of $480 million was returned to Nigeria. And in 2016, Switzerland confirmed the return of $723 million as part of Abacha loot. In January 2020, Attorney General of the Federation, Abacha Malami, announced the Nigerian government was set to recover $321 million Abacha loot. However, the United States insisted that the return of the funds will come with certain conditions regarding how they would be utilized. As announced, the funds must be tied to 3 major projects spread across the country's recognized regions, namely
All right, you're welcome back. You're still on to Editor's Forum, exclusive to Guide to Television. In that clip there, we're trying to give a breakdown of the so-called recovered Abacha loot that's been recovered from different and past governments. And in a recent indictment, the U.S. government has tackled the federal government over $100 million it plans to give the Kebbi State governor, and that is Atiku Bagudu. And of course, the U.S. Department further stated that the Nigerian government was blocking attempts to recover part of the looted funds allegedly traced to Bagudu, who is the chairman of the All Progressives Congress Governors Forum. The Department of Justice made the claim in court papers filed before the District Court for the District of Columbia in Washington, according to reports. Now, of course, we know that Bagudu was a close ally, or rather is a close ally of Buhari, and was also a close ally of late Sani Abacha, and he helped him to transfer billions of dollars in the mid-90s. I'll stop there without further analysis, because the story goes on and on and on. I'll start with you, Ayobaje.
Thank you very much. I think back in 2001, I did write an essay titled Corruption Has Many Colors. That's as far as Nigeria is concerned. And today we've seen people rising and riding to the pedestal of political power on the mantra of integrity. Very questionable integrity. You see, it's painful that some of us love to be deceived, like lies. The problem is that the leadership structure and accessing political power here in Nigeria has little to do with any form of being, brought up to that stage. There is no learning process. I've always talked about it. There is no allegiance to the nation state called Nigeria. I have seen only a few leaders that have been able to sacrifice the self for the state. And what are we looking for? Good leadership. And it's a very simple mathematical equation. Sacrifice the self, your whims and caprices, for the good of what? Of the nation state that you say you are serving. We have heard figures, fanciful figures, flamboyant, just hear figures, Abacha loot, Abacha loot, Abacha loot. And now, thank God that the US has been able to give us that link. The person who was allegedly assisting, to launder this money, part of that money has been recovered and then traced to that same fellow again. And you tell me that you are fighting, some form of corruption. Anyway, the problem is that we don't even know how to define the word corruption. When you violate any existing law, that is corruption. It's not all about money. But then, the worry is this. Such money will have been targeted at the most critical needs of the people. What is leadership all about? You need vision. You need the wisdom to identify the most, critical problems that the people are facing. You itemize them. Then you now say, okay, as far as Nigeria is concerned, if it is education first, or later you talk about health and all the rest, you do that. If Abacha's loot that is recovered is targeted at one particular issue that is germane to the development of Nigeria, we will not be crying as we are doing right now. So, I think that it's painful. Most of us, I'll not even say many, most of us have been deceived into thinking that some people, when they get to power, it will be El Dorado, there will be no more corruption. But in that same issue, when we're talking about insecurity, you can see what I called culture of crass impunity. People doing the wrong thing. Maybe because of the agenda that we've been talking about. Some people came to the pedestal of power because they have a certain agenda they want to see. Not agenda. You can see that even through the appointments that we have on ground today.
Okay. They
have violated Section 35 of the Constitution. They don't even care what you say or what you feel. What they want to do is what they do. So, ordinarily, in any sane country, such loot will be targeted if it is the issue of, the homeless children, if it is that of widows, if it is that of, like even the North, you see the 13.2 million out of school children. What do you think Abacha Loot will be able to do? A lot there in that regard. When Jonathan was in power, didn't he at least establish this 165 wards at Majiri schools? Yeah. But where are they today? They've been neglected. So, I think the way forward when we look at all this is that those who love this country, the civil society, should forget about gaining anything from anybody in power and face it's a challenge for us to look at what is the right thing to be done and be ready to sacrifice whatever resources we have, time and energy, to ensure that the right things are done.
All right, thank you very much, Abacha, talking about good leadership there. And when you talked about a definition of corruption, I know that during the week we saw lots of definition, especially from someone in the helm of affairs of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He said that corruption is when you go late to work, and of course corruption caused coronavirus. Well, we have different definitions of corruption going on there, but let's hear from you, Victor Iam.
Well, in the first place, I think the only mistake that Abacha did was because he died. If he didn't die, this issue of loot that had been recovered for upward of 20 years now wouldn't have come up. And the issue of recovering loot only came up simply because Abacha was the one that actually arrested Obasanjo in a fatal coup that led to his incarceration. If there was smooth association between Obasanjo and Abacha, there wouldn't have been anything like recovering of loot as we are seeing today. You have to get that. Because it was when Abacha came to Obasanjo came to power that he set up EFCC, you know, to start to recover loot. And if we're to be that Buhari was in power that time, or he was the one that actually succeeded Abacha, all these stories of Abacha loot wouldn't have been there. Because the man has told you in a clear language that no matter whatever anybody will say, that Abacha was not corrupt. Didn't you read it? It was not on the social media. It was carried by competent, recognized newspapers. So it was not a social media story. It's a story that one can write. When you are writing project, you can cite it. He said it, that no matter what you think or whatever position you are holding in this country, that Abacha was never corrupt. And yet, his government is recovering money from the same man that was not corrupt. So, the definition of corruption under Abacha, Muhammadu Buhari, is that when you are close to him, you can do and undo. As long as you are close to him, you can steer the country blind. And you are seeing the example. Exactly. If we are to be in a sane society, Bagudu, we are talking about now. If Buhari is actually fighting corruption, he could have instigated his impeachment by now. He could have instigated his impeachment, because this was somebody that was a link between Abacha and the movement of money from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And the same man said that he's fighting corruption. How come that man is still in power today? We are not hearing any statement from the president that, oh, you have done so much wickedness to this country. Then the members of the state assembly start impeachment proceeding against him. Are you hearing it? So we are in a country that anything goes. That is the pain. I don't know whether other people are feeling it. I'm feeling it terribly. In fact, every day I regret to be a citizen of this country. It is my personal decision. Anybody can criticize me. Those who are swimming in oil money, who are not working, who have their children being sponsored by government, they are not doing anything good because they just come to TV and radio and praise government, they pay millions to their account. They can condemn me, but I have the right to my statement that I regret of being a citizen of this country. Because no matter where you think to, in the next 200 years from now, if we don't change the constitution of this country, we are going nowhere. We have to change the constitution. Tell me which other country you will see this abnormality where a city president will say that somebody whose account is where money is being recovered over the years for a period of 20 years, that such a man is not corrupt. If we were to be other country, they would have taken it to task by starting impeachment proceeding against him, that you say this man is not corrupt. How come your own government is saying that you are recovering money from the same man that is not corrupt? Is that not abnormal? Is that not strange to hear that somebody, your government, I'm not the spokesman for the government, I'm not the Minister of Information. I have heard the Minister of Information said time without number that money have been recovered, monies have been recovered from Abacha loot. And the same president that is a leader of that government is saying that no matter what anybody say, that man was not corrupt.
Okay.
I've never seen such a country. It can only happen in Nigeria.
All right, just to give a little hint on that, we also know of, still on this Bagudu's issue, we know of this 2003 so-called deal, and in exchange for the money forfeited by Bagudu under the 17-year-old deal, Nigeria will not file any civil and criminal claims against him over his involvement in government corruption, according to the reported court document. The indication Nigeria will renounce any interest whatsoever in Bagudu's trust assets, including those America wants to help the African nation recover, the court opinion reportedly said. Now, American court filings reportedly showed Bagudu successfully sued the Nigerian government in 2018 for violating the 2003 deal. Then the administration of Buhari entered into an updated deal with the Kebbi State governor, that is Atiku Bagudu, who, like the president, is a member of the ruling Progressive Congress. Now, the updated deal requires a transfer of ownership of investment portfolios worth 141 million euros to Nigeria, which would then pay 98.5 million euros to Bagudu and his affiliated. This is according to Washington's judge's opinion, cited by Bloomberg.
Yeah, I want to jump into that. I know there was a time some people raised alarm that Malami as the AGF was drafting the process of the repatriation of the funds that will cost the Nigerian government more funds, up to like $300 million. I guess that is what you've just said now.
Yes.
Is a reflection of that. It shows you the ongoing deprivation of Nigerian resources, or conflagration of our resources under this so-called government of saints. But for me, I'm not really against the moral grounds of Bagudu, like you said, but the president as the commander-in-chief cannot direct the State House Assembly to institute or initiate impeachment proceedings against Bagudu. Now, I want the Attorney General of the Federation, as a Nigerian, I think I have the right to it, should show us the agreement, even from 2003, that insulated Bagudu from prosecution. And should show us the previous one and the updated one for Nigerians to see who is really serving the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. And this might sound unpopular because a lot of people might claim because of personal relationship or what have you. I think there's a need for Nigerians to really listen to Al-Mustafa. There's a need, because Al-Mustafa said, he claimed at a meeting at the Aso Villa, because he said because the Aguda house was too small, they had the meeting outside the villa, and because of his duty as the CSO, he had to be on ground at the villa. And they brought some Nigerians in there, traditional rulers, captain of industries, because of the sanctions we're expecting from United Kingdom, US, and France. And these are the people that were meant to help Nigerians take these monies out and probably have this money in, safe, keep, and trust. So when the sanctions is biting hard, Nigeria can bring this money in for Nigerians to move and run. I'm not saying maybe during the process and the course of that there was no breach of public trust or abuse of process. But at least let Nigerians ask Mustafa, as an act of patriotism, to give us a list of everybody present there at such meetings. To actually give us a list of Nigerians that helped in moving these monies out. You probably will realize that most of the people even castigating our Mustafa today are doing that because they don't want that information to become public knowledge.
Yeah.
So please, I can always do that. But I want Nigerians as a nation to prevail on it, to give us that list.
Okay, thank you.
So that means, that means we even know more about the loot. Because it became a loot, like what Victor said, when Abacha came in.
Okay, talking about knowing more about the loot and also the way forward, do we see some kind of complacencies even with international government? We have the US government, Swiss government. How does this money actually go outside? Don't you see a sort of complacency from the international community?
Let me tell you something. As long as you have not violated the Money Laundering Act or their laws on their land, of their lands rather, they don't have anything. And it's for crying out loud. Business thrives on other people's money. And where do you get other people's money? Banks. When the bank gets the money, investors stash their funds. And that's how they grow their economy. So for them, it's a win-win for them. I was thinking Nigerian government, if they were patriotic enough to demand interest, return of what's the interest, what's the accruals on this money for over this period of years it's been with you.
Exactly.
But because Nigerian government knows they lack the moral standing to demand interest, because they know they are not, because by the time you ask for interest, the person will ask you, we'll give you this money or so grounds, and we'll have to see it work. But because they know they don't want the money, they don't want to put the money to work, they will not even ask for the interest. Because you can't tell me the money was lying fallow in one account, didn't generate interest. Leave simple banking rules. Exactly. There is tenor that comes at a percentage. Exactly. And this tenor is not 3 months. We've been talking, Abacha died, the General Abacha died 1998. Yes. Over 20 years ago. 22 years, we're going to be 22 years on June 8th. Interest over 22 years is even enough to finance the Lagos State budget.
But if your leaders have decided to take your money to other countries, those countries are not to be blamed. If you watch all the continents today, Africa is the poorest, and it is African leaders that are the greatest thieves. You don't see leaders of other countries taking money from their country to other countries. Okay. It's only in Nigeria. So if you leave your leaders willingly, just like a father, I'm a father. If I have decided to take money and save money in a bank account to starve my children, what is the concern of other people? That's the issue. I'm the one starving my children. So it is African leaders that are starving Africans themselves, and that is why we go borrowing every now and then. The money we are borrowing our own money. That is my own pain. We are borrowing our own money. Our leaders will take our money, go and keep in foreign lands. Then we go and beg and borrow our money and pay interest on our own money. That is why it is very, very painful. So the countries that are hosting our money, stealing money, they have no offense.
It's not their fault.
It's not their fault. Yes. The economic
it's not their fault.
The economic angle to that is that you are using that money, the stolen money, to grow their own economy. So, for instance, if you have some brilliant idea that you want to access a fund,
startup.
In terms of the interest rate that you pay, maybe it's about 6% in the UK. But here, we're talking about
25%, 27%. You will not even get it.
So, you can see the folly on the part of leaders in Africa that steal money and then, stack this money in foreign vaults.
Okay, still on the way forward. Now, we know that there have also been controversies on President Muhammadu Buhari declaring his assets publicly.
He has refused to.
He has refused.
But he's a man of integrity.
Okay, let's hear from Yemi Saka on that. Declaring assets publicly to the people.
Well,
do you see that the way to curb this form of, I hope like in the next 22 years we don't see President Muhammadu Buhari looted funds and all that. Do we see declaring assets publicly as a way of curbing corruption?
I want to wait till when he's out of office to see what he declares when he leaves office.
Okay.
At least he said he was poor, he couldn't afford forms. He's now, there was a time that he has only one house in Kaduna and one in Katsina. And I was like, is a number. And I told him, I said, please, where this man is residing in Kaduna is an elitist area. Malami, it's not in Gasao or Angwanimi or Angwasiriki, it is Malami, elitist area. So let's wait till when he leaves office. That's when I can now tell you, yeah, truly is a man of honor, integrity, when I won't be saying things.
But don't you feel he should declare his assets?
No, there are some things that you declare when you leave office, it is obvious.
Okay.
And they told us we knew what you want or have an idea of. You can't tell me now that he leaves office and has a Bombardier jet. How come? Which business?
All right.
But I've even said it before that declaration of assets cannot curb corruption. I said it on this one of these programs that if I were to be a leader, I could use the name of my associate.
Like the chief of staff, his wife is the one that bought the buildings in Dubai.
According to what he said. And another one
actually be your
when Amosu, the chief of air staff under Jonathan, said it was his wife that owns some property, EFCC said it was corruption.
Excuse me, there is a moral angle to this.
Okay.
My kudos to the governor, the current or incumbent governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. What did he do? Just a few weeks or months into office, he declared his assets. If the Freedom of Information Act, it's now an act.
Yes.
If it's functioning well, why not for the fact that we can see an administration that is hell-bent on Muslim freedom of speech? Why not? People will have access. You declare so amount, and then some other people will come up and say,
petition. They said they cannot release it.
So let me tell you, those who are his spokesperson, they've come out and said, no, it is not compulsory. Buhari never, promised.
Yes.
I mean, is it promised? For the very fact that he came to power on that mantra of integrity, he should walk the talk. You walk the talk by saying, here is what I have before, here's where I am today. Do you understand? Then it's the public knowledge. People will even say, yeah, this man is a man of integrity. It's not. It's what you do. It's not just Martin, but coming back to tell us that he never promised.
That is true. But after declaring asset, will it cop corruption?
That should be a public document.
Yes, they on the moral ground, and if the FOI Act is really, working, then those who are interested, even lawyers will say, okay, we are investigating this, what this man claimed to have gotten, this is what he really has. Then, at the end of the day, after all, let me tell you, coming to power on, the platform of integrity, it's something good. Ordinarily, it will have been good.
Okay.
So we want others to, emulate him. But it's not just saying it. It's not mere rhetoric. You do it. You show it. Then because you want the younger generation coming behind.
All right, thank you very much, Abacha. Talking about integrity, sincerity in governance for the people that have elected you. Unfortunately, this is where we'll draw the curtains for today's edition of AHS Forum. And while we're still recovering loot, we know that Nigeria is still really sinking in debt profile and even poverty profile in the country. But yet we are still recovering about how many billions of dollars. Well, thank you.